This is Mac OS Ken.
Breaking the MacBook Neo logjam, settling a suit over a smarter Siri, and SCOTUS tells Apple no. It is Thursday, the 7th of May, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by OneSkin, a new standard for your skin. Try it now with 15% off using code MacOSKen at oneskin.co/MacOSKen. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. NordLayer is based on zero trust, meaning access is only granted to the right users under the right conditions. Say, the people you've hired using the equipment you gave them. While it's built to be safe, it is also built to be simple. No huge setup, no new hardware. NordLayer is a security platform that works across your existing platforms, including Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, and Linux. Quick deployment, step-by-step onboarding, 24/7 support. NordLayer is ready to guard your business. Strengthen your protection today with an exclusive offer for macOS Ken listeners. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code MacOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code MacOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. The logjam for MacBook Neo may be about to break. As waits for Apple's low-cost laptop continue to stretch for weeks, indie tech columnist Tim Culpium's site Culpium says the Cupertino company has pulled the trigger on paying for processors it thought it was getting for free. You may remember Culpium's take from last month. The way Mac Rumors explained his take then, the 5-core GPU in MacBook Neo's A18 Pro processors were binned processors originally meant for iPhone 16 Pro. What would have been faulty for the iPhone was fine for Apple's low-cost laptop. But Apple didn't expect the laptop to sell as well as it did, according to Culpium. When it did, they had a few options, including restarting A18 Pro production to meet its Neo needs. According to Culpium, that is what Apple has chosen. Of course, most of the A18 Pros made specifically for MacBook Neo won't be binned or defective. This means that in most cases, the 6 GPUs would be fully functional, according to Culpium. That does not mean a spec'd up Neo, though. The report says Apple's likely to deal with the disparity by simply switching off one of the GPUs through software. Now, there is still that problem with margins. Suddenly, Apple's having to go from essentially free processors to paying for millions more. I hate to keep repeating B of A analyst Wamsi Mohan's question from last week, but what's Apple going to do? Raise the price of the MacBook Neo or take a hit to margins in exchange for market share? Culpium thinks Apple could do what it's done with the Mac Mini. Kill the 256GB version of the MacBook Neo. Personally, I don't think so. MacBook Neo was built for people looking to get into MacBook for less money. Then again, with prices for just about every PC and laptop going up, even a $699 entry-level machine might look inexpensive. Or inexpensive enough. Apple does, of course, have a range of options at which to look. Apple's agreed to a settlement over AI and a couple of iPhone lines. Actually, a couple of iPhone lines and lack of AI. A piece from TechCrunch says Apple will pay $250 million. $250 million? Can Apple afford it? A piece from TechCrunch says Apple will pay $250 million to settle a lawsuit over the smarter Siri delay. According to the report, the complaint alleges that the company created the impression that advanced AI capabilities would be available to users sooner than they actually were. In particular, the plaintiffs allege that Apple overstated both the readiness and functionality of these features, particularly the promised improvements to Siri, which have yet to fully materialize. Plaintiffs say they bought iPhone 15 and iPhone 16 to be ready. While they may have gotten good phones, they say they did not get what was advertised. And so, they have sued. And so, Apple's settling. While admitting no wrongdoing, Apple has agreed to fork out the aforementioned $250 million. Under the proposed agreement, the piece says eligible U.S. customers who purchase the iPhone 15 or iPhone 16 between the 10th of June 2024 and the 29th of March 2025 could receive up to $95 per device. But will that heal their hearts? The U.S. Supreme Court agrees with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Apple can, in its view, walk and chew gum at the same time. I told you earlier this week that Apple had asked SCOTUS to put a hold on sending Apple and Epic back to a lower court. They're due there to hash out what commission developers should pay Apple for selling apps for iPhone outside of Apple's App Store. The thing is, Apple's against the whole idea and hopes to argue before the Supremes to have the case tossed. With that as a possible outcome, Apple asked to have a trip to the lower court stayed until the Supreme Court does what it's gonna do. Now a piece from Apple Insider says, no dice. Apple's request to delay implementing new App Store rules has been denied by the Supreme Court, according to the report. Still no word on when next steps will be taken in either direction. A story on Apple manufacturing in India. That country's Economic Times ran a piece late last week saying Tata Electronics has grown its workforce there in a major way. People said to know something about something indicate that Tata staffing has grown to 75,000 people, surpassing Taiwanese rival Foxconn's headcount in the country. That makes Tata Apple's largest contract manufacturer by headcount in India, though for a limited time only. Foxconn is another plant coming online later this year that'll see the workforce outstrip Tata's once again. That said, this is still a huge deal. One of the report's secret sources notes the speed with which Tata hired met Apple's quality standards and met surging demand. Not bad for a partnership that didn't exist 6 years ago. The whole thing seems to speak well for Apple and its supply chain diversification, for India's rise as a global manufacturing hub, for Tata's ability to scale up, and for other Indian firms to follow suit. Kind of a best of times, worst of times week for AirTag last week. On the upside, Mac Rumors ran a piece about the device tracker's 5th anniversary hitting on the 30th of April. Thing is, that was the same day as Apple's blowout March quarter earnings report, so buried that story got. Introduced as part of Apple's spring-loaded event, if memory serves, the piece says AirTag shared the launch day with the M1 iMac, a new iPad Pro, and a new Apple TV 4K. AirTag revolutionized device trackers almost immediately. It also became a favorite of stalkers almost immediately, bringing us to the worst of times side. Another piece from Mac Rumors posted the day after the anniversary had Apple facing over 30 lawsuits from people who claimed to have been stalked using Apple AirTags. The suits come after an AirTag lawsuit from 2022 failed to get class certification, according to the report. In each filing, Apple is accused of releasing AirTag while being aware that it could be purchased and used by abusive, dangerous individuals to track, coerce, control, and otherwise endanger and abuse innocent victims. They also accuse Apple of knowing that the safeguards it had put in place were inadequate and of knowing that AirTags remain a profound risk. As for why all the cases hit at once, the judge in the original suit advised plaintiffs to file individual suits within 28 days of the class certification denial. MacRumors says the class certification was denied due to the difference in state laws and the individual nature of each stalking incident. The piece says the individual suits deal with the personal story of each plaintiff. They're said to be seeking compensatory damages, punitive damages, attorney's fees, and an order preventing Apple from engaging in the unlawful business practices alleged in the filings. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, OneSkin, a new standard for your skin. OneSkin has changed my every day. For years, I've had dry, flaky skin on my face. I applied lotion throughout the day, but seriously, being greeted with that first thing in the morning, almost every morning, it was no way to start any day. I haven't started my day that way in weeks, thanks to OS One Face, the essential moisturizer from OneSkin and part of their bestseller pack. Certified safe for sensitive skin and dermatologist tested, OS One Face leaves out ingredients that can cause all sorts of irritation. I've had inflammation when trying new remedies. That did not happen with OneSkin. I was amazed to see how quickly it started working for me, and I'm happy to say it still is. See what they've got for you at oneskin.co/macOScan. With over a decade of research behind it, OneSkin's OS One peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code MacOScan at oneskin.co/macOScan. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code MacOScan. When they ask where you heard about them, please tell them you heard it on macOScan. Try OneSkin now with 15% off using code MacOScan at oneskin.co/macOScan. 4 new games hitting Apple Arcade today. 9 to 5 Mac lists 3 titles for general gamers and another aimed specifically at kids. Landing for the Grups, Good Pizza, Great Pizza Plus, an Apple Arcade version of the Cooking Business Simulator, the Physics Puzzler Per Chang World, and Ultimate 8-Ball Pool Plus, which I suspect has something to do with archery. For the kids in your life, or the kid in you, Nick Jr. Replay is packed with mini-games featuring characters from such shows as Dora the Explorer, Blue's Clues and You, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and others. While the service is not free, it is free of ads and free of in-app purchases. Subscriptions run $6.99 per month. Apple Arcade is included with the various Apple One subscription bundles. We'll wrap the day with a bit of Apple TV news. On the far distant horizon, the Cupertino streamer has locked James Marsden into another series. Currently playing a supporting, though adversarial role in Your Friends and Neighbors, Marsden will lead the upcoming series, Disavowed. Apple put out a press release announcing the series on Wednesday. According to that, Marsden will play a legendary CIA case officer who is abruptly fired in the middle of a global hunt for an elusive assassin responsible for killing his colleague. Disgraced and outcast from the world of intelligence, all bets are off when Marsden's character decides to go after the $15 million federal bounty on the assassin's head. Marsden will serve as an executive producer on the series as well. No word on when the show might start streaming. And finally today, Apple Original Films has released a trailer for the John Travolta feature, Propeller One-Way Night Coach. Set in the golden age of aviation, a press release from Apple says a young airline enthusiast and his mother set off on a one-way cross-country odyssey to Hollywood, which transforms a simple flight into the trip of a lifetime. Between airline meals, charming flight attendants, unexpected stopovers, larger-than-life passengers, and a thrilling glimpse at first class, the journey unfolds in moments both magical and unexpected, charting the course for the boy's future. Travolta doesn't star in the film, though the trailer does promise at least a cameo. He did, however, write, direct, narrate, and produce the love letter to air travel in the late 50s and early 60s. Propeller One-Way Night Coach lands on Apple TV on Friday, the 29th of May. The trailer is up now on YouTube. macOS Can, brought to you by me, and sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSCan-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSCan. This show is also sponsored by OneSkin, a new standard for your skin. Try it now with 15% off using code macOSCan at oneskin.co/macOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSCan at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macoscan.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Leonard likes this post.